Hi, Stuart Bruce here, and I am the Spare Time Property Investor. In these podcasts, I'm going to share tips, tricks and lessons that I've learned and will hopefully help you, especially if you're still working the 9 to 5. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Spare Time Property Investor podcast. Today I'm joined by Helen Flanagan, who recently became a full-time property investor. We talk about the preparation she made running up to leaving her job, the mindset shift that she had to make, the fears running up to it, and also what structures and routines she has in place now to help her run her business. As ever, if you enjoy this episode, it'd be fantastic if you could like it, subscribe to the podcast, and also share on your socials if you'd be so kind. If you follow us or me on Instagram, you will have noticed a bit of a change. The Instagram page is now Co-Live-It, and that is our investment company. So go and have a look if you haven't seen that already. And also we have a free monthly newsletter which is available, linked from the description or from our Instagram page. So go and check it out. But not wanting to waste any more time, here is my interview with Helen Flanagan. Good morning and thank you, Helen, for coming on to the podcast. I really wanted to get you on, especially because you've recently gone full-time into property. But for starters, it would be great if you could introduce yourself and what you do in property.
Yeah, of course. So thanks for having me. So my name's Helen. I am from Leeds and I live in Cheshire in Macclesfield. I kind of just started property a few years ago. Started on buy-to-lets, now moving into kind of the HMO market. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. So how at what point did you start moving into the HMO market?
So we've done a couple of buy-to-lets, and really our goal was for me to leave work and go full-time into property. So we had set kind of a cash flow target to get to there, and realised that we wanted to increase that quicker. So just thought, okay, done a few buy-to-lets now, let's get into HMOs, just to kind of push that forward. We do want to go back to buy-to-lets as well and kind of top those up to really kind of fill that base up. But kind of we're kind of swayed by that lovely kind of cash flow that HMO seems to give.
And especially as you were preparing to leave the day job and everything like that, the cash flow is so pivotal really to doing that, isn't it? So obviously one of the reasons I wanted you on is because you quite recently left your day job. So it'd be great, because this is an ambition for a lot of people. So it'd be great for you to kind of share your kind of experience of that. So first off, what did you do to prepare for leaving your job? Obviously, you just talked about creating cash flow, but what else in terms of making sure you had a robust enough business to cover your salary that you had before? What else did you do?
Yeah, definitely. So I left my job in February last year, so coming up to about a year now. And then it kind of felt like we almost straight away went into lockdown, which was a really weird start to me going full time. But we just kind of made sure that we looked at our expenses, and thought, where can we kind of pull things down and spend a little bit less to allow me to go full time, because we'd got some cash flow from the buy-to-lets, but we needed a little bit more really to cover kind of my wage. Really glad though that we did look at it that way, and kind of reduce what we were spending, because it just allowed us then to look into property a lot more and kind of fast track, or at least have a vision to fast track where we want to be, and just get moving faster. It's kind of a weird mindset change, isn't it, when you've got a full-time job and you want to go part-time or kind of fully into property, when all through school you've been taught how to get a good job, earn a good wage. So I had to kind of change that mindset to be like, it's okay to earn a little bit less at the moment, to then earn more in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of those things you just saying there about reducing your outgoings is so pivotal. It's such a big part of it really, isn't it? Because you have to be able to control your outgoings. You have to be able to manage money to be able to succeed in out on your own in the real world, without having a salary there to kind of have that safety net every month. So that must have been a real challenge. What things in particular did you find were difficult to cut back on?
So we more just kind of looked at what we were spending and realised that I spent quite a bit of money on things that I maybe only like in the short term. So I kind of cut out those saw some Pretty Little Thing clothing hauls that I was doing every other week. And just a few things like that, and maybe not eating out as much or getting as many takeaways. And we found that quite quickly we could reduce that by quite a lot. So yeah, it was mainly those things. And then once we went into the lockdown, nobody was really doing much anyway to spend money. So we didn't really feel like it affected us that much. People weren't going on kind of nights out or meeting for weekends. So it was kind of like a little positive, a silver lining to a bad time, really, with COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. It feels like people have had very different experiences of COVID, really. We haven't really been that massively affected. We've both kind of kept our day jobs and things like that, and our houses have kind of kept pretty full. And then obviously other people have been having a terrible experience of it, so it's a really strange time. I don't know, it's kind of crazy, really.
Definitely, yeah. I think people have had a real mix. We kind of had a property fall through last year, which was partly due to COVID, but partly due to kind of regular circumstance as well. But I feel like it was a real kind of testing year to kind of help us decide how we want to run the business and what to look out for and keep our kind of pot full in terms of deals, rather than rely on one which then might fall through, because we can always source it on rather than just wish we had another deal.
Absolutely. So aside from reducing your outgoings, what else did you kind of consider? Did you have any other kind of concerns or fears about leaving the day job?
So I had a few fears, just in that I'm so used to kind of working full time that when I did leave my last day, I was a little bit panicked, like, oh my goodness, what have I done? But knew it's exactly the right thing. So just really setting up strategies and systems for how we're going to work. I found myself initially continuing working like I was when it was trying to fit it around my job, and realised I need to run it a lot more like a business. So setting KPIs for different aspects of the business, systemising everything, and having a weekly meeting with my fiance, who's also my business partner, because we'd be finding that we'd just check in every now and then, and it was all a bit of a scramble.
Yeah.
And then in terms of KPIs, I would say kind of how many viewings do we want to book in, how many offers did we want to get in, and how many conversations about raising money do we need, just focusing on the main things rather than getting caught up in all the little extras that can spend a lot of time on.
Absolutely. And anyone who works in a normal kind of business, those KPIs and things that are probably a bit of a nuisance, there's a reason why they're there, and from what your experience shows that, it sounds like it's worked really well. So you don't get distracted by those little bits that everybody experiences day to day. There's always things to distract you, isn't there?
Exactly, yeah. And I'm a master over procrastinator or over analyzer, so it's easy to get into making loads of different spreadsheets that I don't actually need. So it's what's the main focus.
Yeah. No, I love a spreadsheet. I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'll quite happily set up a new spreadsheet for a different strategy or something like that, instead of going and finding something. So I'll totally get where you're coming from there. Did you have any, so obviously you did a lot of preparation and everything like that. Was there anything that you didn't expect to happen when you left your job? Was there anything kind of that took you by surprise?
So I'd probably say the routine, really. I kind of made another spreadsheet of how my day would work out and what I would do on each day, and then it didn't really plan out like that. So I kind of really realised the importance of having a time to sit down at my desk and not getting caught up in bits of housework as well, now that you've got the freedom to do what you want whenever. And just kind of, like I said before, running it like a business. When do I need to get what done, and kind of sticking to that. So I definitely say managing my time initially was a little bit of a struggle.
And how did you end up kind of getting into the routine of managing that time? Did you set out blocks, you're going to do one thing from 9 till 10 and then another thing, or how did you kind of come to that?
Yeah, so if I try and sit down at 9 o'clock at my desk, 9, half 9, then I know that Monday I've got all my admin work to do. Tuesday is more of a deal finding day, so I can kind of scour Rightmove, scour Zoopla and look for those. Wednesday, I should hopefully have some viewings that I'd booked in the previous week, work out my offers. And then Thursday, it's kind of an amalgamation of all the other And then Friday looking, okay, I know I've got my meeting with Scott tomorrow, so which KPIs do I need to make sure that I get a few more points on, so that I can be happy with the work that I've done. But it's definitely kind of evolved and each day switched around, but I feel like I'm in a good routine of what I want to do when. Yeah, definitely.
That's really good. Yeah, that sounds good. And so I suppose, like you're saying, it evolves, but do you have longer term aims, I suppose, over the year, over the next few years that you're kind of working towards? I mean, maybe getting other people to help you out, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I have been thinking about getting a VA, just to do kind of outsource a few tasks, but I'm not quite sure which tasks I'd outsource at the moment. I guess I'm kind of a little bit of a control freak on that at the moment as well. But I'm quite happy at the moment with how things are running. So as long as I make sure that I get my kind of number of viewings each week, and the tasks that I want to get done, that's great. And then on usually a Wednesday, Scott's got his day off as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I try and pack that day as full as possible with viewings, and we've just started a direct to vendor strategy of looking for rundown houses and posting lets out. I know a lot of people have just started that recently as well. So just trying to use him as much as I can when I've got him there, and then kind of prepping everything else ready for when, again, we can work on it together.
That's great. I just saw on your Instagram, actually, you've recently secured a lease option. How did you get that one?
Yes, so that one was on Rightmove. And yeah, so we got the offer accepted in October, and then conveyancing is just taking ages at the moment, isn't it? So we're waiting for a couple of searches to go through before completion. So hopefully we should complete on that next month. And the housing company is Serco, so we just contacted them, and they're really crying out for houses at the moment to look for accommodation for asylum seekers. So they speak to the council, who does a postcode check, and if they're happy to accept a house for asylum seekers on that street, then we'll get the good to go, and they say, yeah, happy for that. Refurb it in X amount of time, I think it's 6 or 8 weeks, and then we can lease the property to them on a 7-year contract, which is great because then it's the guaranteed income, which again, when we're replacing cash flow is our initial aim, that works really well.
That's great. Yeah, that sounds really good. I've not really kind of thought about those companies that house in asylum seekers and stuff like that. It sounds quite niche, but obviously it's something that's needed. So yeah, that's great.
Yeah, definitely. So I was surprised that was an option as well when I heard about it. I think I heard a talk that they did, and I think initially our thoughts were maybe shy away from social housing or things like that at first, helping create nice houses for people that really need them. But once you take into account that there's no management fees, no maintenance costs, and the no voids, it comes quite similar in terms of the profit that you can get if you were renting it on the market value. So yeah, it was a win-win, which is really good.
And is it one of those arrangements where they return it in the same state as they kind of take it?
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of like wear and tear, they should return it how you gave it to them. But if there's any kind of high ticket items which fail, like the boiler or the roof, then
that's fair enough, isn't it? Yeah.
On us to kind of fix.
Yeah. So that sounds really cool. So was there a particular deal that kind of made you think to yourselves, yeah, we can really start to plan now for you to leave your job? Or was it just an incremental one more, or was it a really, really juicy deal that kind of made you think, yeah, no, let's kind of plan for you leaving?
Yeah, so I think, well, we did quite a bit of training, and straight after the training, the kind of buy-to-let renovation that we did made us realise that, oh my goodness, this actually works. You don't just have to put your money in a property and then earn as much as you can to buy the next one. You can refurb it, refinance, and pull that money back out. So that was kind of a big eye-opener, and a big kind of like, oh my goodness, it can happen once we kind of did the whole process. And then we got another deal accepted, which we were going to split into 2 flats, and the cash flow on that looked really good. So we thought, oh, let's get me out of my job now, get me going straight into trying to find other deals, because that's where maybe our time's better spent. And then that one fell through. But luckily we've got this other one lined up, which also is going to give us a good return. So yeah, no, happy I left when I did.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. But the thing is, I mean, you've had probably the hardest possible year to get going, and you survived it. So
Yeah,
it can only get better, can't it? So that's really good.
exactly. Hopefully.
Well, yeah, surely. So okay, so your previous job was a sales designer for a kitchen company, which is obviously very helpful when you're doing properties up. But what sort of things would you say that people should consider when they're putting kitchens in properties? Have you got any kind of design tips or tips about maybe not spending money on certain things but spending more money on other things? That, you know, any kind of tips for people?
So I'd say kind of a big thing with kitchens is looking about who your market is. So just keeping them quite simple and neutral if you are going to sell the property. But I don't know, it's a hard question to ask because the kitchen company and traditionally handmade kitchens, so they had a big wow factor and quite costly, whereas we're kind of putting in lower cost kitchens, which are substantial, but it's not so much thinking about the internals of every single cabinet. I just make sure you've got that worktop space available to prep, a little bit of a focal point, but otherwise keep it simple. If you can add a peninsula, people love those too, so that's a good tip.
Add a what? Sorry.
A peninsula, so like an island that's
that?
attached to a run,
Okay.
where you can put some bar stools up against. Yeah, a breakfast bar. That's probably a term
Right.
to
Okay.
use.
Well, you're using your technical language. Yeah, so a peninsula.
It's
So that's,
yeah.
but that's a real winner, is it? People love those, do they?
Yeah, I think nearly all my clients wanted either an island or a breakfast bar in the kitchen. And we had one at the last house we lived in, and we found we just sat at it all the time. It just kind of makes it a great kind of useful space, like a working space, rather than someone being sat at the dining table at the other end of the room. It gives it that homely kind of feel. So it'd be great for flips as well, I think.
Yeah, sounds good. Cool. Okay, so looking right back then, when you first started thinking about property, what first sparked your interest?
So we kind of became accidental landlords initially because when I met Scott, we both had our own house and then decided we wanted to live together. So we sold one, rented one out, and then bought one to live in together. And then we really liked seeing that cash flow that was coming in every month. But we didn't do it the way we do it now because it was on a interest on capital repayment mortgage, probably a little bit higher value than we would purchase now for the rent that it achieves, even though it does well because we manage it. So we're cutting out a little cost there.
Yeah.
So I think that just kind of sparked our interest, and then I was just scrolling on Instagram one day and I saw a course on property, and then went to that course, and my mum was just blown by the different things that you could do in it. So kind of got sucked into the training aspect, which I know has its people have different opinions on, but I'm definitely glad that I went down that route and learned a lot.
It's a real funny one because the people I've spoken to, some people haven't done any training, they've just read books, and other people who have done it, and they both say kind of their way has worked really well for them. So, and I think it's about your kind of type of person you are, maybe. And the other thing I've really picked up on, a lot of the people who have done training courses talk about the network that they've developed at those training courses. Did you find that the network has been helpful?
Yeah, definitely. I think that the network probably is the most valuable thing from the training. So it's just kind of, as well as having that network of people to kind of contact and find out how they do certain things. But when you start either something which nobody else does that you know, or doing something new, it's a little bit scary and can be a bit lonely. So having that network of people that are also doing it, and deals that you can see that they've done, it's a little bit of motivation really, just to say keep on plodding on, you know that it works, and you can just reach out to anyone at any point. So aside from everything that I've learned, which I know you can get free online in different areas as well, the network is definitely the biggest kind of positive that came from it.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those things that everybody's aware of, aren't they? You can get any information online now. There's so much information out there, but people don't use it a lot of the time. Even if you can access, people don't use it. So I think sometimes the going on a course is motivating because you've spent out money, and you've got you've got that network you can kind of tap into and see what they've been doing and things like that as well. So yeah, I'm on the fence about it. I really am, because some people
Okay.
find it massively beneficial, and some people are just dead against it. I think there's no right answer really. I think it works for some people, and for other people, it's not so important. I don't know really. It's a funny one.
Yeah, no, I think I'd agree with you there, really. It's dependent really on the individual person. I'm quite like an analytical person, and I probably am quite risk averse, so I wouldn't want to move forward on a few aspects, knowing that I've done loads and loads of homework the way that a teacher has maybe told me to do it. But I know that there's lots of different resources that you can use and thoroughly learn everything that you need to know. But spending that money kind of gave us that accountability as well to think, right, we've spent that, we better do it properly and learn everything. So it worked well for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, it sounds like a health. And when did you do that training, just out of interest?
So I think we started it in 2018, so a
Oh,
couple
wow.
of years ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's and I think that shows you actually how quickly you've managed to turn things around. That is quite clearly one of the benefits of going on a training course.
Yeah, and it was good. I think there was a bit of a deadline as to when you had to sit all of the courses as well. So it kind of pushed you
Yeah.
to fit it in around a full-time job to get them done because, well, why wouldn't you really, to get that knowledge from each course? But yeah, that was a big help.
Cool. Okay. So what's your favourite deal that you've done so far?
So it was our buy-to-let renovation that we did straight after we came out of the training. I think that because we were like, wow, this is amazing information. Let's see if it happens and it can work. So I enjoyed kind of like do my own renovation, having kind of managed a lot of my clients' renovations in terms of their kitchen. They were often doing kind of full renovations on their properties as well. And then at the end, just getting that refinance back was just that added proof that okay, it does work. We can just rinse and repeat and keep going. I think whenever you start something which you put in a lot of kind of money in and time into it, it's always quite scary. So when it kind of pays off, there's that big sense of achievement. So that was really good. I'm not sure if I'll beat that.
No, it sounds great. And when you say you refinanced it, did you get all of your money back, or majority, or?
So we didn't get all of our money back, the majority of it. I think we left about £7,000 in the deal, which we're quite happy with. It gave us a good return. I think it was about 31% return on investment. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that sounds like a great deal. And like you're saying, and it just proves the theory, doesn't it? And makes you kind of believe that it's possible. So yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Cool. Have you got any kind of favorite business books or property books that you've kind of benefited from, and you think other people would find helpful?
Yeah, so I'd probably say my favourite kind of mindset or business book is The Compound Effect. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah, read it.
Yeah, so very similar to The Slight Edge, which I know most people go for initially. I've read that one as well, which was really good. But I just really liked kind of the reminder that the small tasks, which look like they're not really getting you anywhere, over time just add up. And as long as you're putting that consistency in, you get those big results at the end. So I did really like that book. Yeah, I do like my reading, but some books I much prefer on Audible rather than physically reading them. So the 5-second rule for Audible, that was really good as well.
I've not heard of that one. Okay.
Yeah. So that one's more because I kind of doubt myself a lot, and if I want to kind of do something that's scary, I'll put it off and put it off, and that's just more making you do the task, get it done. So that was really good. I've not heard many people kind of mention that one before, but it's definitely more a mindset one.
That sounds good. That sounds good. Yeah, I think it's quite easy. I talk myself out of stuff as well, so that sounds like one.
Yeah.
I can, yeah, I might very well read that one. Have you got any kind of tools that you couldn't live without for running the business?
So I definitely just have to say Excel. I've tried to put all of my data on systems on various different tools and apps like Asana, Trello, ClickUp, but I end up implementing everything and then still writing them down on my little notes and post-its that I've got on my laptop and then putting them back on Excel. So I think that that's a big procrastination strategy for me. Yeah. So I'll revert back to Excel. I quite like making Excel spreadsheets too. So I just keep it simple with that and then save it all to Google Drive, which is really handy. I love Google.
Yeah, same here. I think again, from all the people I've spoken to, people use Asana, they use Trello, all those bits and pieces, but Google Drive and kind of spreadsheets are the kind of most useful, I'd say, out of all of them. So yeah, you're not alone.
Keeps it simple, doesn't it?
It does, and I think we're just so used to using them as well. It's just like second nature, just putting a spreadsheet together, and it's not like, I don't know, like you don't have to relearn it, and remember to use that program again and again and again. It's kind of just there, isn't it?
Cool. Exactly. Yeah, I was finding myself spending a lot of time working out how to use it and moving it around. So it became that not as useful for me than the tools.
I've recently really after quite a while of using Trello, I feel like I've got it now where I kind of go to it without thinking now. It's become one of those that I use instinctively now. So it's quite good, but it's taken me a while to kind of get to that point instead of just going to the spreadsheet.
I think that is the thing, isn't it? Making it a habit, so that's where you go to. So I do think that I'll start using a program in the future, but I need to make sure that I'm on track with hitting my goals for at least a few more months before I get into looking at that again.
Absolutely. Cool. And last question then, what will your life look like when you've achieved your goals? What will you be doing?
So hopefully I'll have a lot more time on my hands and I'll be able to spend more time with family and I'd like to go on holidays once we're allowed back out and even in the UK or abroad, just go outside. But I also think that I would get a bit bored if I didn't have kind of goals and things that I was working towards. So I do want to kind of build my own home at some point and then maybe get into luxury developments, whilst also continuing to create nice homes for maybe social housing or people that really need them. But I'm not really sure exactly where I'm going to be, but I feel like once I've gotten further down the line with different property strategies, I'll have a better idea of what I want to go into. So I'm okay with that. Yeah.
That sounds great. And like saying, it doesn't sound like you're just going to be sat on a beach somewhere. You'll always be busy with all those.
I put on my phones and want to do something. Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's great. Thank you for coming on to the podcast. I will kind of keep on checking in, see how you're getting on and things like that. And it'd be great to at some point have another kind of meetup to see how far along your kind of goals you're getting and things like that. But where can other people find you?
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for having me. So people can find me on Instagram. My name's Helen Flanagan. And so I've just started really this year posting a lot more on there because I've realised just how important it is to network with people and good things can come from it. So yeah.
Great. And I'll make sure the links are in the description so people will be able to find you. So that's great. Thank you so much for coming on. And I'll see you again. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast, and I really hope you enjoyed it. If you have, please leave me a 5-star review to help other people find it, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.